Joining me in the studio tonight for expert analysis, and there's a lot to talk about, Sally Tyndall from CanStar and political scientist Simon Jackman. Sally, I'll go to you first. A focus on savings over handouts. Is there enough for struggling families right now?
I don't know that there is, Michael, because we've seen, we're getting that extra $250, but not for 2 years. That's going to hurt some families that were hoping for a cash handout. We are going to see tax cuts, but we knew that they were coming down the line. $268, I think it is, back in the pockets of anyone that earns over $45,000, but that's not going to touch the sides, is it? And we are going to see things like an increase to the number of medicines on the PBS. That's really important for, struggling families, but I just would have liked to see more relief targeted to those lower income earners that are absolutely struggling at the moment.
Simon, impact on the cost of living here. I was just reading one headline as we came on air. Chalmers budget woos damages boomer wealth to woo young voters. What's this going to do for the cost of living crisis, do you think?
Not too much, right? To the extent there's any cost of living relief here, it's going to come in these very small tax cuts. Right? Now, for someone not earning a lot of money, we shouldn't, they help, right? One other thing, though, the cut in the fuel excise comes off in about 6 weeks from now, maybe a little less, and that's going to throw an extra 20, 30 cents a litre back onto the pocket.
So no measure in this budget to account for that, to keep it.
I thought that might have been a little surprise. So much of this budget got telegraphed. I was waiting to see if they're going to surprise us by extending that one forward. No. So the government gives, the government takes with respect to cost of living on this one, and not very much, just on the margin.
Yeah, Sally, rising inflation, interest rates going higher. Will the budget ease any of that pressure on those measures at all?
I don't think so. I think it is a little bit neutral at this point. We've got to remember that right now our inflation woes, we had some homegrown problems, but they've really been whipped up with an egg beater by, the war in the Middle East and the difficulties in getting fuel. They are supply side. And so I don't know that this is going to solve any of the RBA's problems right now and here and now. The RBA had already said that, the second wave of price hikes coming through to groceries and all the rest of it, they've already been baked in. They're already happening. And then they're going to continue potentially hammering mortgage holders. We've already seen 3 rate hikes. For someone with a $600,000 mortgage, they're looking at a $91 increase to their minimum monthly repayments with every hike. Over the next year, compared to if we hadn't had any hikes at all, that's $3,265 extra that they have to pay in a 12-month period on their mortgage. Nothing in the budget really helps manage that.
So, Simon, it is all about the headline out of the whole budget is property investment changes to the capital gains tax. I mean, what is that going to do for Australians? If you're wealthier, settled, and you've got investment properties, do you sit, do you hold, what do you do? And to new people coming through, is it actually going to stimulate more young people to be able to get houses?
This is an attempt to deal with a big structural flaw that took 20, 30, some people might even say 40 years to build up in Australia. Right? And this pernicious intersection of the treatment of capital gains and negative gearing made investor housing a terrific asset class, had a lot of people wanting exposure to it, particularly in our capital cities, that drove up the price of housing. Unpicking that is also going to be a slow burn. Right? And I think this budget is an attempt by this government with 94 seats and a ton of political capital, and they learned the lesson from the last election that breaking promises, stage 3 tax cuts, the tax on superannuation balances above $3 million, they got rewarded at the last election. That's the lesson I think this government took from the last election. Breaking these promises in the service of legacy building innovations that over 5, 10 years might unpick this crisis in Australian housing. I think that's what they've got their eye on tonight. The Middle East crisis, by the by, I think this was something they've been thinking about for a long time. It's something Bill Shorten was thinking about in 2019. This is unfinished business for Labor. Tonight they're getting on with it, but as
didn't have the courage to take it to the election, though.
That's right.
I mean, there's a big difference.
But in the meantime, not a lot of things on the table to deal with, I think, some of the real pressures Australian households are facing tonight.
All right, stay with me. There's more to talk about a little later on, so thank you for that for now.